All right, everyone. So we're going to be coming back to a review series that was done by Totally Not Mark on the Naruto manga. Now, I did start reviewing this and eventually decided to take a break from it because honestly, the interaction on those videos just weren't really all that great. So I thought that, okay, well, maybe people just aren't really all that into this. But I thought that, maybe if I take a break and then come back to it, then it'll be a lot better. We'll see how this video does on the on the algorithm. If it does really well, then I think, okay, great, so maybe people do want me to finish reacting to this. But if it doesn't really do all that well, then I guess this will technically be the last video that I react to in this review series, which does kind of suck because I really do want to see the rest of this and talk to you guys about it. But if there's just no interest, then okay, there's no interest, nothing wrong with that. No, he does have other reviews that he's done for other manga series that I'm interested to check out with you guys here on this channel. He did one recently for Bleach. I'm really interested in checking that out, here with you guys. But for now, let's just go ahead and watch this video. So this one is going to be focusing on the Five Kage Summit arc, and since there's the Great Sakura debate in the title, I'm guessing he's probably going to be talking about that moment with Sakura where she had a chance to kill Sasuke, but she didn't do it. Because I know a lot of people have been talking about that ever since the chapter got released, where where she had a chance to kill him but didn't, and her reasoning why. I'm guessing he's probably going to get into that here, and I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on this. But before we get to this video, guys, as always, just to let you know, the link to the original video will be available in the description, as well as a link to Mark's channel. So make sure you head on over there and subscribe to him and go follow him, watch his videos, and go support him. And make sure you do that with all of the content creators we sorry, I just hit the table. Make sure you do that with all of the content creators that we react to here on this channel. Don't just watch my video reacting to them, but make sure you actually watch the original video to support them. And of course, if you guys have your own videos you want me to react to, if there's a video out there you really want to get my opinion on, just tell me about them in the comment section down below. Make sure to tell me the title of the video and the channel where I can find it. Don't leave a link, because YouTube has apparently made it to where you can't link things in the comment section. I think the reason why they did this, I think I've talked about this multiple times, but I'm guessing the reason why they did this is because people will leave false links to fake websites and all that stuff. So they probably made it to where, okay, like if you try to post a link, it'll just immediately be erased. So just tell me the title of the video and the channel where I can find it, and I will eventually get to it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and watch this. Oh, and sorry, just one more thing. If you obviously want to support this video, if you want to push this video out into the algorithm, just make sure to click the like button, share this video out there on your social medias, and consider commenting of course also helps, and consider subscribing to the channel to really help support this, and make sure to ring the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. And of course you can also consider becoming a channel member, which will just that's just going the extra mile to help support this channel. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Now let's go ahead and watch this video.
This video is brought to you by manscaped.com. So, I've had an interesting week. A few days ago, I read this page of Naruto, and without posting my thoughts on it, I shared the image on Twitter. This was a mistake. Never in all of my life had I seen such vitriol, venom, and... Yeah,
usually not really smart to try to have a debate about anime on Twitter. That usually doesn't end well. I don't know why, honestly. It's just something that happens. So yeah, recommendation, if you have whatever opinion you have on on whatever anime, honestly, just do. Again, I'm not going to tell anyone what they can or can't do online. You're free to do whatever the hell you want, but just my recommendation is keep it to yourself, or just talk to your your friends, your real life friends that you actually talk to in real life, not just on a social media platform. Just talk to them about it. Don't share it online, because again, I mean, that's usually what happens. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Pure hatred ooze out from a fan base before. Remember now, I don't know anything about Naruto, and unbeknownst to me, I had just stumbled into one of the most heated arguments I've yet come across on the internet that didn't have to do with politics. People were attacking each other. Heck, people were attacking me. I didn't even say anything yet, and my proximity to the argument was enough to entice some folks into ordering the deletion of my account if my opinion on a cartoon girl they liked or disliked didn't match theirs.
That's not a cartoon, it's anime.
I am ready for war. This is gonna be a great video.
Oh, okay, wait, no, sorry guys. I can't risk it, sorry. Honestly, you guys should know about YouTube and music right now. Granted, this is a cover, so technically we should be fine, but I'm not taking any risk with YouTube's copyright bot system. Sorry. Again, I know it's annoying. You guys have mentioned in the past that, hey, maybe bump up the audio a little bit on the actual video. I will bring it back up once this section is over. Okay, so it should be fine right now. Let me just bring it back up.
The pain assault.
There we go.
Noah is uniquely weakened with the likes of even Lady Tsunade, the 5th Hokage, in a comatose state, resulting in Danzo, the prick who brainwashed Sai and has been slithering around in the background for a while now, becoming the 6th Hokage in her absence. I can smell conflict brewing already. In order to decide what to do about the Akatsuki members on the loose, a summit of all 5 Kage is held. And prior to leaving for this gathering, Danzo's first rule is to effectively authorize the killing of Sasuke, overturning Tsunade's rule entirely. This was a great start to the story, I found. It sets up the building blocks to be knocked down, so to speak. Following the Pain Assault arc, while we still have this nebulous overarching goal of regrouping with Sasuke in order to convince him to come back to the village, without a concrete plan of how best to do that, it remains a less immediate concern in the forefront of what I would assume is a great many readers, despite it being the main motivation for Naruto himself. With that said, however, the combination of this overarching motivation and the addition of a new Hokage in Danzo creates a unique pressure to be applied to this desire from Naruto for Sasuke, not to mention conflict with the Akatsuki and 5 great nations. Finally, all of these chess pieces are starting to come together in a meaningful way, and right now I can really feel a progression towards a big finish in this arc. Naruto needs to watch what he does in his presence. He doesn't want to give Danzo a reason to lock him away as a Jinchuriki. Thankfully, it's demonstrated that not only will Naruto not be acting heatedly or emotionally in response to all of this, but in fact quite the opposite. When faced with some cloud ninjas looking for information on Sasuke in an aggressive manner, Sakura is reduced to tears with the news that they lay before her, and instead of pushing back against these unwarranted words of antagonism that speak ill not only of his friend Sasuke but causes Sakura distress, Naruto doesn't act how he might have acted in the past. He uses the fact he's a Jinchuriki as a means of bridging the gap between their village and his. He says that they shouldn't be focusing on capturing Sasuke and seeking revenge, but instead focusing on rescuing their sensei first. It's another instance that demonstrates how much Naruto has grown as a person, and also how his experiences with those that seek revenge have transformed him into someone that does not seek that out. Knowing where it can lead one down, Naruto is like the ultimate hero's journey in this respect. At every turn, he tries to diffuse any and all tension while avoiding glorifying his own goals and circumstances. He willingly accepts a beating from the Cloud Ninja to help them stop the cycle of violence. Vengeance will ultimately bring them down in seeking out Sasuke. And when he shares the important information about his meeting with the 4th Hokage in his mind, he chooses not to share that he was his father. And I think that's really telling of where Naruto is right now mentally. When one gloats, one does...
I gotta admit, that moment between Naruto and Kakashi, where they essentially went through something similar, where they both got to, meet up with their dads, and they both got to, like, finally, talk to them. Kakashi, of course, finally got to talk to him after, what happened. I can't say what happened to his father because, YouTube. But yeah, that moment was just, I gotta admit, that was cool. Like, I do have my problems with the ending of the Pain Assault arc, specifically with the whole, like, bringing everyone back. It kind of feels like, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a fan of it. It felt like the impact of a lot of the destruction caused by Pain on the Leaf Village just kind of went away when all the people that he killed just got brought back. Yeah, just wasn't a fan of that, if I'm being honest. I wasn't a fan of that story decision by Kishimoto. Personally, I understand if other people feel differently. But yeah, I always thought that was cool that both him and Naruto went through something very similar, where they both got to have a conversation with their dads. I always thought that was really cool. So yeah, again, like there are problems after the Pain Assault arc, with the Five Kage Summit and of course the Forgotten Shinobi War. There's a lot of problems, but one thing you can't deny is that there are moments in the in both those arcs where you can't help but smile. I don't know what it is. It's just uh, you know, maybe it's just your attachment to these characters that it makes you happy to see them, go through this. Like especially Naruto, who didn't know either of his parents, to finally get to meet one of them, and then of course later, he gets to meet his mom, and those really cool moments. Just again, I got problems with a lot of the upcoming two arcs in Naruto, but I can't help but smile at some of those moments that I thought were really really well done.
So because they feel insecure about another person's perception of them and wants to elevate their standing artificially in their peers' eyes. In the beginning, Naruto was a real blowhard, and that was a reaction to how others belittled and neglected him. However, nowadays he's adored by the people. He has no need to gloat. If anything, he's incredibly humble about this meeting, instead telling Kakashi what he felt was the most important part of it to him, that his father believed in him.
Okay, again, yeah, it's the music.
But let's get to some plot stuff, okay? Following this, Naruto goes to the Kage Summit, escorted by Kakashi and Yamato, with the mission being that of peace. Belief in love in and of itself seems to be a strong theme in this story, and primarily this arc too. Naruto values what belief can do for someone, and so won't turn his back on his friend Sasuke. He will always believe that he can be saved. Kakashi believes in Naruto then as a result, and so follows him on what ends up being a complete waste of time mission to request peace at the summit. And even with Sai, this is a character that sits on the fence between Danzo and Naruto. One who, if left to his own devices, would most likely have chosen Naruto due to his belief in Sai. Compare that to Danzo, who trusts virtually no one and even goes as far as to curse seal Sai's tongue from speaking against his interests. It's screwed up, but this all has a greater purpose. The main thematic takeaway I gleaned from this arc was that of two diametrically opposed ideologies setting themselves up for an inevitable collision down the road. And we see all of this information as the World Summit yields nothing but distrust and lack of belief in the current structure, as Danzo sought to manipulate the little goodwill that existed through the Land of Iron's suggestion that he be the Five-Nation Army leader, at the beginning at least. The parts of the arc that deal with the political unrest that's brewing, while being a little wordy at times, felt appropriate for the setting and interesting throughout for me, not overstaying their respective welcomes either, mind you. As tensions climb in the summit meeting and dishonesty is rooted out, the physical reason for their mistrust in the first place makes itself known to everyone, and it doesn't stop there either.
Another moment that I really did like.
There's a story that's shared with us of two sons that belong to this Akatsuki Obito. The older son believed that peace could only be achieved through power, while the younger believed it could be achieved through love. A clear thematic parallel with the characters of Sasuke and Naruto respectively. With even more again, Sasuke being the embodiment of this power-hungry ideology speaks to his prior engagements, and the same can be true for Naruto. Sasuke's older brother Itachi subscribed closer to love than Sasuke did, who showed him little mercy leading to his death, embracing hatred, embracing revenge. Whereas Naruto, particularly as he gained better control over himself, which speaks to this being the more difficult path, has found success in treating people with mercy and love, with one of those very people Naruto helped, Gaara, even going as far as to try and convince Sasuke to return to Konoha in Naruto's stead. In other words, thanks to Naruto, Gaara can now see how lost Sasuke is, how obsessed with aggression, hatred, and power he seems, which brings him to tears. He's been there before. It's a great moment. And these themes of love versus hatred, trust versus aggression, belief versus distrust and responsibility are what makes this arc as philosophically interesting as it otherwise ends up being. Ignoring the obvious being Naruto's position on the side of trust, that doesn't entirely mean that that side is the obvious correct choice either. A significant portion of the story deals with Naruto's friend group, primarily Sakura, and the guilt they and she feels for putting too much of their trust and belief in Naruto, placing him under tremendous pressure. With the question becoming, should they deal with this themselves? Are they being selfish by expecting Naruto to work a miracle here? And it's easy to see why they come to this decision they do. The choices Kishimoto made to inject nuance into the story like this makes what could have become an otherwise far too simple and straightforward story into an exciting one. And that's exactly what you need to do when writing an arc that hinges so much on dialogue and introspection like this. There is a decent amount of fighting in this arc once the jig is up and Sasuke's crew decides to make their presence felt at the summit. Watching as Sasuke contends with each Kage that stood in his way was a real page turner, forcing him to break out moves, some of which I expected and others I didn't. Things most definitely don't go 100% according to plan, and in these skirmishes Sasuke receives some big hits, not to mention his chakra gets depleted. The main significant takeaway from this I took was that of Sasuke's reliance on his friends, or the cell team he assembled, should I say. With practically every encounter he engages with here, had it not been for his team having his back, he would surely have lost. Following this activity,
what's actually interesting is that originally Sasuke did have a plan going into the Five Kage Summit, but obviously, you know, Zetsu announcing his arrival here kind of screwed everything up, so he had to kind of he had to improvise, unfortunately. Which, yeah, again, it's a good, what you pointed out was actually true. You know, Sasuke's you know, reliance on Suigetsu and Jugo and Kari, and then of course, like, still thinking that he doesn't really need them, which is kind of ironic because yeah, it's like there are multiple times where Sasuke would have absolutely died if he hadn't had people there with him, especially against Killer B. Like he absolutely would have died if Jugo wasn't there to heal him, which again is just really interesting.
Assemble, should I say. With practically every encounter he engages with here, had it not been for his team having his back, he would surely have lost. Following this activity, Madara shows up and saves Sasuke from certain defeat, taking this as his opportunity to announce the 4th Shinobi War, with his goal being that of the natural extreme of mistrust and yearning for power. He wishes to control and to absorb the power of the nine-tailed beasts in order to control the world, stripping the populace of their autonomy, thus securing world peace as a result of that control. I guess now we have an endgame. And while the 5 nations agree to join forces against this foe, given the mistrust
we
that they
thought
have
we
for
had
one
an
another,
end
I
game
can't
before,
see that
you know.
working out. So what happens next?
Oh boy.
あんたのことが好きだって言ったのよ。
Now I know Cousin It from the Addams Family is real hashtag Yas Queen squad goals, but it's time to get trimmed up with Manscaped's new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer. You get this wonderful waterproof shaver and more when you purchase their new Performance Package 4.0. Along with it comes the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball.
You know, it's interesting. I haven't seen that many people be sponsored by Manscaped lately as much as I did before. Like there was a time where a lot of people that I watch on YouTube was like, a lot of them would go, hey, this video is being sponsored by Manscaped. Just to clarify, YouTube, this video that you're watching isn't being sponsored, just to clarify. But yeah, there was a time where a lot of people were saying that they were being sponsored by Manscaped, but it's like now I'm like, how come, you know, I don't really see that all that much. I mean, did something happen with Manscaped that I'm not familiar with?
Ball toning spray to keep you smelling fresh all damn day. But did you know that for a limited time only, when you pick up the Performance Package 4.0, you also get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxers. These cooling boxer briefs might actually be one of the coolest parts of this collection. What's the point in manscaping your bits like a pro if you're just gonna throw on some rags afterwards? Not only are Manscaped's boxers extra comfy, but they have fancy crop cooling technology to keep you cool and dry all day long. The fabric's super soft and comes in a wide range of sizes, all the way up to XXL. And what's neat is that you get to opt into their peak hygiene plan, which means you'll get a new pair every cycle straight to your door. If all that sounds good, then head over to manscaped.com and use promo code NOTMARK20 for 20% off, free international shipping, and 2 free gifts. Underwear to your door. Your balls will thank you. Bye.
Hold on, we all have media we're passionate about. If you're going to discuss this topic in the comments, please don't be mean, be nice to each other. Oh, you sweet summer child, that's not gonna happen.
Sakura. This is a section of this arc I had absolutely no idea was as controversial as it happens to be. Before getting into this, I want to be perfectly clear here. I am not part of any Naruto communities online. I do not speak about Naruto with anyone, and I was not influenced by anything other than the material I read to come to these conclusions and feelings I have regarding this series. I have a number of things to say about this, not all negative. However, one thing I have noticed since reading and writing this section has been that online, some folks are exceptionally passionate about this particular argument, which is why I have tried to make my thoughts concerning this narrative decision as thorough as I possibly could, even double checking my perspective by asking all of you guys on Twitter. So whether we end up agreeing or disagreeing on this particular occasion, I thank you for your feedback and thoughts. With that said, let's get into my immediate reaction and then my more nuanced understanding of what Kishimoto was going for and whether or not I thought he was successful. My immediate reaction to this was a little hyperbolic. Everyone, I give you the panel of no return. For on this page, resting lovingly upon the top panel, Kishimoto speed ran the character killing or character defining moment for Sakura, depending on who you're talking to. And unfortunately, I find myself leaning much more negatively for a host of different reasons I will spend the next while explaining.
So,
however, I do have some...
Sorry, I just it's been a while since I've seen his his videos, and I kind of forgot that he does like use some manga panels from the from the manga, obviously. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit worried because again, some of the people that I follow have talked about how they've been getting some crap from Shueisha or whatever company they have working for them that's going around striking channels. So I really do hope that this video doesn't get in trouble, because it does kind of suck, because YouTube says they have this thing where they don't allow people to file like false copyright strikes. Like if you do make a false not a false copyright strike, but a false copyright claim, like if you make a false one, then that feature immediately gets removed from you. Like you're immediately not allowed to use this feature anymore, because you tried to abuse it. And yet for some reason, the person going around taking down these videos for absolutely no reason, because a lot of those videos from the other channels end up being reinstated. Even YouTube realized that, okay, we've looked at your video, we realized there's nothing wrong with it, so we've reinstated it unless you've deleted it. So it's like, I mean, if you know this person, like the claim that they filed was false, why are you still allowing them to do this? Because it's always tied to the exact same email. And I know this because this person tried to come after me at one point and gave me a lot of crap, and yet for some reason, like, nothing's happened to them. Like they still apparently can use the feature and nothing's happened to them. So I don't know, dude. I don't know anymore. So yeah, I guess just really hoping it's fine. I mean, it should be, because I do have the filters on top of the video, which have saved me from getting any lately. So hopefully that continues, but I know that doesn't really matter to a lot of these companies. And it's not just Shueisha, Toei has also, I mean, if you don't know, I don't know how you're not familiar with this if you follow Mark at all, but yeah, he had that whole problem with, Toei Animation, how they tried to essentially get rid of his channel and that whole debacle. Thankfully that's been resolved. So yeah, it's Shueisha, it's Toei, it's other companies like Disney, CBS. Oh yeah, CBS is known, like they are known on YouTube for being crazy when it comes to copyright. Like you'll have, if you even have like a couple of seconds of any footage that they own, they'll immediately block the video, which it kind of sucks. And also it's a little inconsistent, because I know I've seen people like make videos about properties that they own and they use footage, they use clips and images, and for some reason their videos are still fine. Now I don't know if they got blocked at first, but then they managed to get that whole thing resolved, so their videos out there, it's fine now. I don't know if that's what happened. I'm guessing maybe, but yeah, these companies usually are not very consistent when it comes to copyright. Like sometimes my videos will get blocked from uploading, but the original video is fine, nothing's happened to it. So I don't know, it's very inconsistent and very broken, and you can understand why people are thinking about migrating to other platforms, because dealing with YouTube's crap is just getting really, really annoying at this point. Hell, I mean, it's getting to a point where even I'm genuinely considering, like, possibly getting another, what is it like? Thinking about alternative measures. Let's just say that.
some positives to speak of with regards
And
to
by alternative measures, I mean alternate platforms. That's what.
the scene, and I want to be clear that I still stand by all my prior praisings of her character from earlier in this story. I can't hold young Sakura accountable for the sins of her present self, but I digress. Holy fucking shit, this shocked me. And the more I read, the more I found myself leaning back in my chair, hand placed firmly over my face. There's a moment earlier in this arc where Sai confronts Sakura about the promise she asked Naruto to keep, and the pressure that promise might put on him. On paper, this idea for conflict within the character of Sakura makes sense for both her character and the story, as it could lead to some interesting conflict. However, unfortunately, it never fully makes use of it at best and totally botches its potential at worst. From the outset, I want to make it clear that I am not someone that believes Sakura was being fickle and just wanted Naruto when Sasuke became a non-starter. She's not that shallow. I think
I think that okay, like that is definitely a mistake. I think that people who think that are not really getting what's happening. I mean, hell, even Naruto is calling her out. Like, even he knows, like, okay, there's something else going on here. What's really happening? And he's trying to basically get her to admit, you know, the truth about what's happening. But she's trying to, obviously, you know, she's lying to him. And it's again, it's made pretty clear later on what's going on, that she's and I think that this is probably why a lot of people were really pissed at her for doing this, because it's obvious what she was doing, that she was basically telling Naruto what she thought he wanted to hear, because she wants him to stop, you know, with this pursuit of Sasuke, this thing that's obviously causing him a lot of pain. She wants him to basically put an end to it, but she's just going about it the wrong way. And it's like, yeah, what she did admittedly was a little scummy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, you don't do that shit, especially when you know, like, you know that this is how the person feels about you, and you're using that against them. It's like, that's a horrible thing to do. And even if you had good reasons, like, you're doing it because you believe it's for their own benefit, because it'll get them to stop doing something that you know is causing them a lot of pain. At the end of the day, that's not something that you do. Just don't do it, okay? Don't be that person. So yeah, let's just go ahead.
anyone that thinks that clearly hasn't read or watched the material, and if they have, then they clearly weren't paying attention if that's their takeaway.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
What I personally dislike about this scene isn't just one thing in isolation. It's that it's one hasty, naive, albeit well-intentioned for the most part, choice made that has a rolling knock-on series of obviously negative outcomes. Outcomes that should have been abundantly obvious to anyone, particularly a shinobi like Sakura. My first issue. Sakura feels guilty for potentially being a reason Naruto is assuming so much responsibility and pressure, constantly putting himself in danger, potentially risking his own life to bring Sasuke back because it was a promise that he made to her. This is interesting and absolutely worth exploring further. It's true to her character, however, in order to alleviate that guilt, and indeed because she cares about Naruto, she decides to lie to him in an effort to protect him. This is, regardless of her reasoning, manipulation, and is fucked, because in doing so, she is lying to the face of someone she supposedly cares about, using something that he has deeply wanted.
Okay, so there's it's interesting. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of cursing in this video, and well, if you don't know, YouTube kind of changed the rules lately, so yeah, there's a chance I might not be able to monetize this video. So I don't know. I mean, YouTube, you just really know what your content creators like, don't you? You just, oh boy. Yeah, like I said, dealing with YouTube is getting really exhausting lately.
Wanted in the past a potential relationship with her, and she knows that. My second issue. On top of dangling that fake carrot in front of him, this lie is also attempting to rob Naruto of his autonomy as a character, to force him into making a specific choice that she agrees with, that she thinks is the right thing to do. She's trying to make the decision for Naruto in this effort of manipulation. This to me is worse than her trying in earnest to get with Naruto because she's done with Sasuke. It has layers of manipulation beneath the surface that, while coming from a good place, results in a massively obvious, immature, and somewhat selfish decision being made out of desperation. My third issue. The motivation behind the scene is fine, kinda, but the execution could not have been worse. Furthermore, what Sakura tries to do, assuming her goal is to take the pressure off of Naruto and take agency, by going to confront the Akatsuki herself, is one of the most incomprehensibly dumb decisions anyone could make in this series at this particular point in time. There's no amount of mental gymnastics I can perform to rationalize this choice, particularly for someone that's known for how clever she is.
Yeah,
Now,
this was...
one might say, and rightfully so, that people in desperate times make irrational decisions.
That is also true.
However, I
Yeah.
have two arguments against this. One is narratively driven, and the other is character driven. We'll do the character one first. Sakura is a ninja, a shinobi, a warrior that has seen some awful things and has come close to death numerous times before. Her speciality requires her to have a level head in intense situations.
being a doctor,
and the
yeah.
level with which she fails to make even the faintest rational decision here feels incredibly convenient for the plot and inconvenient for us sitting at home. But I'll get to that. She's been trained as what's essentially a military operative, and if she's been made aware of just how powerful Sasuke has gotten even remotely, she has to be aware that Naruto is the only one capable of stopping him at that moment. The pain incident proved that Naruto is the strongest ninja in their village, and by an incredibly wide margin at that. Taking him off of this proverbial chessboard would be the equivalent of not using your queen because you're too scared of it being taken out. All the while you charge in guns blazing with your good intentions and a bunch of pawns to your inevitable demise. So yeah, Sakura makes some incomprehensibly bad decisions in this arc, which brings me to my narrative point. No one likes tension built upon a lack of communication. Bad
it's
at that. If your scenes are driven,
it's a trope that I know a lot of people are absolutely tired of, and this is, if I'm being honest, this is mostly seen, at least for me personally, in sometimes you'll see them in action movies, sometimes you'll see them in mystery movies where there's a killer and people are trying to figure out, okay, who's the killer, and then someone figures it out and you think, okay, well, they figured it out, that's it, there you go. Right, so okay, yeah, this is a trope that I think a lot of people are definitely tired of. The whole trope of tension happening because there was miscommunication. I think a lot of people are definitely tired of seeing that. This is something that you see a lot in, sometimes action movies, sometimes it'll happen in mystery films where, let's say, there's a killer and nobody knows who the killer is, or just any kind of mystery where, let's say, you're halfway through the movie and they have a character say, oh, I figured it out, I know what's going on. And then you think, okay, well, one of them figured it out, great, that's it, the mystery solved, right? Well, no, because unfortunately there's an entire half of a movie left. So we have to find some convenient, contrived way to essentially not have the story just end right here. So, for example, let's say in a murder mystery, right? You have a character go, I know who the killer is. And then let's say they'll call someone, let's say it could be the protagonist who's also trying to figure out who the killer is. And then they go, okay, or the other character goes, okay, I'll call the person and say, hey, I figured out who they are. And they'll go, they'll have the protagonist respond, okay, well, tell me who it is. And then they'll go, no, I can't tell you over the phone. Let's meet up here or whatever. And well, it's not gonna happen. And that's just, one example where it's just like, dude, you're already talking to them. Just tell them. Who cares if it's happening over the phone? Like, why do you have to tell the person? Like, why do you have to tell them in person? Like, I don't understand why that's the case. Just tell them. Just tell them, end the story. I mean, hell, you know what? You know what would be a good subversion of this trope? And maybe there's a movie out there that already did this that I'm just not familiar with. Like, let's say they do this where they go, you reach the halfway point and you reach the usual, oh, someone else managed to figure it out, and they what is it, like, oh yeah, they call the person and they go, I know who it is. And instead of doing the whole, I'm not going to tell you over the phone, let's meet up in person thing, they have a scene where they do tell them. They don't show us, the audience, because you want to keep the mystery, but you do have the character tell the protagonist. I know the protagonist knows but they can't reveal it because they don't have evidence. So now the rest of the movie is the protagonist trying to catch the killer and essentially prove without a shadow of a doubt that, oh, this really is the person that did this. You know what I mean? Again, maybe there's a movie out there that already did this, or a TV show that already subverted this trope and did, exactly what I said. I'm just not familiar with it. If they did, and if you know about a movie that did this, or any TV show, whatever, tell me about it in the comments, because I really would like to see it, because man, am I tired of seeing that trope. And probably the worst offenders when it comes to the whole tension because of miscommunication thing is rom-coms. How many times have we seen in rom-coms where there's a miscommunication between the two people that for a fact are going to get together? If it is one of those romantic comedies where you've got two people who are, diametrically opposed when it comes to their personality, and you think that there's no way in hell these two should be together. Absolutely not. And if they already are with someone, you think there's nothing wrong with the person that they're with. If they don't like them, that's fine, whatever. They can, just split up and just that's it. But it's like they always have to cause some kind of tension between either the two people who are supposed to get together at the end to, give us fake tension because there's another like 40 minutes left in the movie, so we have to delay it as long as we can. So we have to insert this fake tension, or insert fake tension between the two couples that already exist because we need these two people to get together, and we can't have that when they're already in another couple. And it's just, I'm so tired of seeing that. I never want to see the whole tension because of miscommunication thing ever again. I'm so tired of it. It's old, and I just really wish it would die. All right, let's continue.
Simply by two characters not being honest with one another, that can very, very easily feel incredibly frustrating for an audience member if done incorrectly. And this just wasn't the time or place for this. For the longest time, Sakura has slowly been slipping into the background of this series, with even characters like Konohamaru getting to do more than her in recent memory. And so, for her character to do something like this feels annoying at best and idiotic and dangerous at worst. And considering she's leading a charge with others in her stead, I'm leaning towards the latter. Miscommunication now drives this narrative. And while Itachi did do something similar with Sasuke, not being honest with him, which created the tension and conflict in the story around that time, Kishimoto approached that narrative choice completely differently. We never knew any of this was fabricated on one side, and thus the tension felt natural during the conflict. All the while, when it was revealed, it did so during the climax of that narrative decision, with all of the thematic relevance laid bare alongside the climax for the world to see. In other words, we were able to enjoy it. However, with this situation, I feel like I already know where it's going, what will happen, and what the lesson will eventually be, sucking all of the fun and drama out of this supposedly dramatic situation. And finally, my fourth issue. All of this was ignited by the advice of Sai, a character that is literally defined in the series by how emotionally unintelligent he is. A person who was in no way equipped to contribute a meaningfully nuanced take to Sakura, and when he did so, she took it completely to heart, hook, line, and sinker. Naturally, this is my smallest gripe, admittedly, and you could...
Admittedly, it probably would have been a lot better if it came from someone else. Like, I mean, hell, it would have made a lot more sense if it came from someone like, let's say, Ino, or God, who else? Well, I mean, even Shikamaru probably would have been better. Like, I mean, yeah, he probably doesn't really care about other people's like romantic lives or whatever. But I mean, if you were going to have a character like point this out to Sakura, which to me, if anything, this is probably the thing that I probably thought was the most unrealistic. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way Sakura didn't know that Naruto was into her. I'm sorry, but like the way he acts around her, the fact that he kept constantly asking her out, it's like, how do you not know the person is into you when they like to your face ask you like, hey, you want to go out on a date or something? Like, that's like the most obvious thing. Like, you have to be a special kind of dumbass to not know that this person is into you when they literally to your face ask you out multiple times. It's like, come on, like there's no way she didn't know. And I think that that's also one of the things that a lot of people probably didn't like about her at the end of part one, when she walks up to Naruto, when she asks him, to do this. I think that it's like, again, I understand the situation. It's like, that none of them are really thinking straight, but it's like you pointed out, it's like you're supposed to be shinobi, you're supposed to be trained to be able to handle stressful situations like this. Now, granted, again, they were children, but I don't know. It's like I can understand why so many people are frustrated with this character. Now, for me personally, I still like the character. I still think that, you know, I have grown to like her over time. You know, there was a time where I was like, I didn't really care about her either way. I didn't like her or hated her, but over time, I did grow to like her, especially with a lot of the novels that have you know, been added, specifically the Sasuke Retsuden thing, which did get adapted into the manga and in the anime, the Boruto anime. They did an adaptation of that, although from what I understand, they the anime I didn't really watch. I am keeping up with the manga, but the anime, from what I understand, I only watched, I think, if I remember, like the first episode and I think the last episode. I think that's the only two that I actually watched. I didn't watch everything else, because I am consuming it through the manga. It's like, you know, they did develop her character, and they, in my opinion, she's a lot better now than she was before, which, yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest, like, I like Sakura more now than I did before. Again, there was a time where I didn't really care about her at all. It's like, okay, she's there, whatever. I mean, I did find her, you know, the whole hitting Naruto thing kind of annoying, but I understand that that's like a trope, a comedic trope that you see in a lot of anime and manga. It's not just Naruto, but it's just something that I've personally always just really didn't like, especially because a lot of the times whenever they do the hitting, it's like, it's not really warranted. It's like the protagonist will just say like a bad joke or whatever, and they'll like fling him into the side of a mountain or something. It's like, I mean, that wasn't really warranted. Again, I understand it's just done for comedic purposes. You know, it's just done as a joke. It's not really meant to be taken seriously, but it's just one that I'm not personally really fond of. But yeah, again, so I guess to summarize this whole tangent, I understand why people are frustrated. I still like the character, I do. But it's just, wow. I mean, like when you look back at it and you look at some of the decisions that they've made, it's like, yeah, boy, you were really kind of dumb. I mean, goddamn, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. All right, let's continue.
Could even call it a nitpick, but that's why I left it here for last. And that's just the initial 2 chapters. As this story with Naruto continues and he eventually catches wind of what's going on with Sakura moving to attack Sasuke, this king suffers a panic attack. Like, my heart sinks for this character. He's trying so hard to do the right thing, to be honest, and everyone around him just seems to be a fucking suicidal maniac. And what's more is, this part didn't even really make sense to me when I read it the first time. In this, Sai says to Naruto, quote, "That's why she came here, to tell you all of that." Now, when he says that, he means her and her desire to go off and fight Sasuke to kill him. Which, by the way, she never said. All she did was pretend to profess her love for him and then peace out without further explanation. To which Naruto reasonably responds with, "Why didn't she just say that?" And to that, they say, it's not that easy, and that she was trying to avoid hurting Naruto. At no point did she say what she was doing or why. Without Sai and everyone else there to effectively communicate her feelings for him, he would have had literally no comprehension of what she or her friends are doing right now, despite her supposedly having come to tell him just that. Sakura is someone that made this choice in an effort to bring Naruto into the least amount of danger. She wants him to succeed and to do well. She is his friend. To me, this just does not justify what she did in trying to manipulate him, and only really makes sense if I assume she's capable of making literally the worst possible decisions, placing herself and her loved ones in life-threatening danger, all the while achieving the opposite of what she set out to do, placing Naruto into an even more dangerous and compromising position because she herself is now in danger. Okay, time.
No, I just noticed a little something right here. Let me see if I can find it.
Into an even more dangerous and compromising position because she herself is now in danger.
No, sorry, it's a little bit farther back. Yeah, here.
Ones in life-threatening danger, all the while achieving the opposite.
Yeah, there's a mistake right here. He's supposed to have a scar or a cut over his cheek right here, but they forgot to animate this, I guess.
Now in danger.
Yeah, see right there.
Okay, time for some positives. I think the reason this frustrated me more than anything else thus far was primarily because it could have been really great. First of all, let me say that I think this scene does a lot of cool things thematically for both characters involved. Conversations like these where two pivotal characters speak frankly with one another about something personal or important are usually terrific and rich with profound introspection and catharsis. Sakura and Naruto have a long shared and turbulent history together ripe for the picking, and in this scene there's plenty of nuance present that I liked and I touched on it earlier. From Sakura's point of view, she sees Naruto as someone that's trapped in his own fantasy. A person she deeply cares about has a love for her which forces him to take increasingly more extreme action, putting himself into life-threatening danger, she thinks. That's her perspective. And believing that's the reality, Sakura feels a tremendous amount of guilt and responsibility to alleviate that stress. And that's a really cool idea. And what makes it even better is Naruto's response to that.
俺は自分に嘘をつくような奴は嫌いだ。
Okay, seriously. Jesus.
This is one of the
Okay.
best decisions made not only in this arc, but perhaps some of the most important thematic and character-defining lines heading into this big climax with Madara, highlighting for us as an audience how Naruto handles and doesn't handle every piece of news that comes his way. Earlier in this arc, Madara expresses to the world leaders what his ultimate goals were: to seize control over everyone's autonomy using Infinite Tsukuyomi. The Infinite Tsukuyomi is an extremely powerful genjutsu that traps the entire world in what is effectively an illusion, enslaving the human population in a dream so that their chakra may be drawn upon by the God Tree. Or at least that's what it says on Narutopedia. It is in effect a technique which traps the victim in a fantasy, a delusion. And in the scenes where Naruto is forced to contend with the fantasy and delusion Sakura offers him that he has always wanted, he unflinchingly chooses reality, the more difficult option, to not live in a lie, because, as he says, he hates those people. The responsibility to trudge forward no matter how hard reality can be, and as we can see, it can be extremely difficult, particularly for him. And that's what this arc is all about in a sense with regards Cell 7 or Team 7. Each character is at their most desperate, made evident by the crazy decisions Sakura made, the lengths Sasuke is willing to go to, and obviously with the way Naruto's circumstances are causing him to feel. Gone are the days of childhood concerns and vapid spats. We are on the cusp of war and we feel that with each subsequent page turn. And so putting a pin on this Sakura scene, there are clearly some interesting ideas and profoundly interesting thematic choices made that speak wonderfully to the character of Naruto and in some ways Sakura. However, all of this good I think really came at the cost of any and all respect I had for the Sakura character as a competent and level-headed ninja. Now time for something completely different. Kisame versus Killer Bee is pretty damn cool. I honestly had no idea Kisame could transform like that. I mean, was it hinted at before or was it a surprise for people? Let me know down below. I'm actually not sure about that one. In addition to that,
I don't. It has been a while since I read the manga, but no, I don't think it's ever been hinted that he could do this. Yeah, no. As far as we know, Samehara was just like a sword that can like eat chakra. I mean, we did know that, but we didn't know like he could fuse with it. Yeah, that was completely new.
I think what I like most about this fight is what it meant for this series moving forward. This second form, and indeed even the tailed forms Killer Bee utilizes, are nothing new to the series. However, what's interesting here is that Killer Bee seems to be in complete control of this form, and with that, it makes me wonder if Naruto will have to learn how to do the same. It seems like the natural final training arc for him to undergo on his way to the big final battle. I mean, it's literally him mastering the demon inside of him. It's a cool concept, but who knows? Maybe this speculation is a complete waste of time. The fight itself is really cool, with Kisame breaking out a sword that can suck chakra, which comes in handy later in the fight. But moreover, as it looks like he's about to win against Killer Bee, Raikage shows up and then the two brothers just decapitate Kisame, which I wasn't expecting, although now that we're heading towards the endgame, it makes sense to nix some characters here and there. And speaking of nixing some characters, it's time for a fight I wasn't anticipating to be nearly this damn good. Danzo versus Sasuke. Sasuke's fight with Danzo is the battle I never knew I needed until I got it. My god almighty, this fight works on so many different levels, and not just from the clearly exquisite visuals we see before us, but thematically Danzo is a fascinating individual for Sasuke to square off against from his village. Both of these characters represent two diametrically opposed extreme convictions, neither of which desirable. one willing to do literally everything in his power to protect his village, and the other desiring nothing more than to destroy that village. Neither are seen as just or virtuous characters within the story, and in effect are both antagonists. I'm probably the only one who made this association, but whenever I see a character like Danzo, one that's driven by extreme measures out of mistrust and fear of the consequences, I think of the 1999 film, The Iron Giant. If you haven't seen this, please do. It's a brilliant story, and the book it's based
He's right. It is a really good movie. Go watch it.
off of is fantastic also. Set during the Cold War of the 1950s, one of the best characters is Kent Mansley. While there are some obvious and major differences between himself and Danzo, what I find fascinating about these types of characters is how easy it is to empathize with their respective points of view. Not to justify their actions, mind you, but understand them. It ends up making for some of the most interesting interactions and colors the world with a lot more nuance. And when Danzo removed that brace from his arm, revealing a litany of Sharingan eyes he'd harvested from the fallen Uchiha clan, I knew this fight was going to be all sorts of messed up, and it didn't disappoint. Armed with an arm of Sharingans, this battle between these two fighters erupts into an incredibly well-animated game of chess, hinging the abilities of each wielder's specific strengths to be utilized in tandem with either misdirection or pure tenacity. There's a terrific visual marker established partways through the fight with Danzo and his remaining eyes acting as sort of a lives system, sacrificing an eye to prolong his struggle against Sasuke. And that's not to say Danzo doesn't do work in this either. He does incredibly well, way better than I thought he would. In terms of choreography and setup for
Well, he is still a shinobi. I mean, he may not have, a lot of the advantages that, an Uchiha or a Senju may have, but he is still a shinobi who was a part of the second Hokage, Tobirama's, special units. So, yeah, I would expect him to actually be very capable.
the fight, this one has a very good ending, I think. All the while utilizing misdirection not just on Danzo, but with us as an audience too. Sasuke had cast an illusion which caused Danzo to believe he had a spare Sharingan, or life so to speak, when in fact he didn't, leading to his desperate gambit at the end.
That was actually probably my favorite part of the entire fight, when he tricked him into thinking that he still had one Sharingan left when he didn't. And that's I think that one of the things that a lot of people really like about fights in Naruto is just the strategy behind them, and the fact that every move that each character makes is actually very calculated, and it's not just done just for the sake of, I guess, that cool factor. You know what I mean? It's not just done just for it to be cool. There's actually a reason behind it, and I've always loved that about Naruto fights.
This took me by surprise in a good way. I knew what the odds of this happening were, but I really didn't want it to happen. Karen had literally been offering up her lifeblood to Sasuke in order to rejuvenate him. This whole thought process was cut off though, as Danzo goes full kamikaze mode. There's a short but wonderfully insightful flashback sharing with us the past of both Hiruzen and Danzo prior to either of them achieving higher status in their village, each one acting as a sort of counterbalance, so to speak, to the other. Hiruzen would go on to operate in the light as Hokage, and Danzo in the shadows, both acting in the interest of the respective village to the bitter end. And quite unlike Kent Mansley and Iron Giant, Danzo at the very least is brave enough to die for his convictions and not become overwhelmed by the task or foe in front of him. It's a really cool moment that sort of recontextualizes a lot of what he's done up until now. Sort of. Sakura and Sasuke. There's a really cool scene that takes place immediately following the aftermath of this encounter. Karen is on the verge of death on the floor, waiting to be polished off by the uncaring Sasuke, and suddenly Sakura shows up. I'm not exactly sure how I should feel about what she did to her friends, though, on the way to meet with Sasuke. I mean, I'm happy she did what she could to spare their lives from what ultimately amounted to a terrible strategic move. I didn't mention it before, but the idea that all of them would take action like that with little to no strategy genuinely surprised me. Regarding Sakura, however, a large part of the story deals with Sakura actively making her presence felt in the story and celebrating her autonomy as a character. But she does so by robbing everyone else of theirs. It's a really strange decision narratively, particularly because of what happens at the end of all of this. Her plans fail, twice, achieving nothing, and even admits to some extent that she's just been in the way. So what's being achieved here exactly? To me, it just feels like Kishimoto wanted only Cell 7 to be present for the final confrontation of the arc, to reunite and didn't have a way of getting Sakura there without her making a host of extremely rash decisions, putting herself into harm's way on 2 separate accounts. The first time when her plan, if you can even call it that, leading to her trying to convince Sasuke that she's going to be on his side, but he sees through that. Surprises her, she fails, and then Kakashi has to save her. With
And
that
then
said, when she
Naruto
is in
has
the
to
room,
save
there's
her
some
after that, so
imagery
yeah.
evocative of the last moment she and Sasuke had one-on-one. Before he initially left, he flashes behind her to thank her. In that moment, she feels a connection with Sasuke. It's kind of nice. However, this time he deceives her, and once behind her, she felt nothing but an entirely different person. A coldness, as Karen put it. There's a really cool thematic visual contrast that speaks to the progression of these two characters and their relationship. I can see why Kishimoto wanted her to be there in that moment. I just think the means with which he gets her there is really strange and almost unbelievable. Naruto's journey to this place, however, has been great. Trying to deal with all of the responsibility, all of this stress, a panic attack, him escaping in a creative way to deal with Sasuke himself, using the sage mode he learned earlier in the prior arc to locate him, and when he arrives, he does so in dramatic fashion following the fight with Kakashi when he saves Sakura. The fight between Sasuke and Kakashi isn't super long, and apart from the obviously cool rogue student versus regretful master dynamic at play, one particular part stood out to me as really nice. Sasuke's dialogue or interactions with Kakashi in these moments has him saying things like only the Uchiha are able to wield the Sharingan. However, through his adept fighting with it, Sasuke acknowledges him. Well, sort of. This happens only in the anime, and I can see why it wasn't involved. In the manga, this fight is actually quite short and barely a fight at all, really. And while I prefer that it isn't drawn out like in the anime does have a cool line where Sasuke declares that he's about to show what a real master of the Sharingan can do, only for him to start losing his sight. It's a really nice visual touch that draws attention to the path he's heading down, with his spirit kaiju fading away just like his vision. And in that moment, Sakura takes advantage of the situation yet again.
Yeah.
Now, I bet a lot of people hate on this, but at the same time, this is a uniquely difficult situation to be in, and one she thought, or at least wanted to believe, she was capable of following through with. And honestly, I think I understand both sides of this argument. Not to say I'm sitting on the fence here, I think while the idea was interesting, the execution left a lot to be desired. I will, however, say that what happens in this scene surrounding these characters reminds me a lot of what happened to 2 particular characters in Attack on Titan. What I'm about to say has some big spoilers for the first half of Season 4, which aired last year, so skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid those spoilers.
Well, you heard him. I guess if you don't want any spoilers, there you go.
This reminded me a lot of the conversations and hatred a lot of people directed and had for the...
Well, although I guess technically by the time... I mean, this video I think was made a while ago, so I guess by the time you guys see this video, most people have probably already watched or read the Attack on Titan manga, so you probably already know what happens, so...
character of...
Gabby gang, Gabby gang, Gabby gang, Gabby gang.
Gabby after she killed Sasha. Despite many of those same people not feeling nearly as much negativity towards Aaron's actions, which led to the deaths of thousands that same night. All because we're following Aaron's story and not Gabby's. Similar to that, in this story we've been following the life of Naruto and have built a strong connection with him. Many of us on a personal level, as made evident by my Twitter mentions. Because of this, Sakura, a character which has played an increasingly smaller role as of late in the series, suddenly starts taking not only an active role driving her own tale, but makes choices that actively make the life of the main character that we're following so much harder, for reasons that honestly don't make a lot of sense outside of her feeling that she has to be part of or shoulder some of this responsibility, ultimately achieving nothing. I genuinely think that partially due to her inactivity, it created a situation where fans were far less likely to be charitable towards her actions, but that's just my take. And that brings us to the end of the Five Kage Summit. I had intended on covering more in this video, but when I discovered how heated the conversation and dialogue online was surrounding Sakura in this particular arc, I knew that I had to dive in there with a lot more detail. Plus, this arc had a surprising amount happen too, like Danzo becoming the temporary 6th Hokage, the Five Kage Summit itself, the 4th Shinobi War being declared, Killer Bee versus Kisame, Sasuke versus Danzo, and of course, Team 7's reuniting. Speaking of which, if you do disagree with anything I said, that's cool. Everyone's entitled to their own takes on a fictional character, and While I know this might be a futile effort, much like Sakura, I'm going to try anyway. Please be kind to each other in the comment section. I know without even looking it's going to be a hellscape, but please just try to respect everyone. You know, we're all human beings at the end of the day. Next week, I'll be starting the 4th Shinobi War arcs, and I hope I can see you there. Until then, I've been totally not Sakura, and I'll see you all next time.
Okay, so I think that's the end of the video. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, so sorry, just need to arrange everything. Okay, everything's fine. All right. So I see he also covered Mob Psycho. Okay, so it's interesting. Again, it's like I feel like I probably already like covered everything I needed to say in this video. I don't need to make the like the outro like incredibly long or anything. Look, when it comes to Sakura, it's a debate that I don't think has ever ended. I think it's probably still going at this point. Whatever it is you feel about Sakura, or especially specifically, you know, everything that happened here, just let me know whatever your thoughts are. Just tell me about them in the comment section down below. And yeah, even though I know it's probably it's probably useless, but which, hey, interesting your choice of words. But you know, try to be civil. Again, I know that's probably really useless to say because, well, but yeah, just whatever your thoughts are on Sakura, just tell me about them in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, like I said, the reason why I kind of took a break from this is because, you know, there wasn't really a lot of interaction in the reactions that I did to his videos covering the Naruto manga. So I thought that, okay, so there's not really a lot of interest, so I guess I'll just take a break from it. Maybe I'll come back. If this video does do well, and if you guys really do want me to cover the rest of it, please make sure to leave a like. Tell me by clicking the like button. Click the like button, and if this video does get a lot of likes, if it does get pretty good engagement, then okay, I'll watch the rest. But if it doesn't do well, then okay, that's pretty much your audience telling you that okay, they're not really interested in this stuff, and you can just move on to something else. Which, like I said, he does have other series that I am interested in checking out, because you know, like, again, he did Bleach. I'm really interested to watch that, to see what he thinks about them, or about the series. And I'm interested to I think he also has one on Hunter x Hunter, if I remember correctly. I definitely want to watch that with you guys here, you know, so we can talk about it, especially with the you know, the manga having just recently come back. I know it's back on hiatus again. I don't know when it's going to come back again, but I'm just really hoping it's not going to be another 2 years, because I've been hearing some things that, you know, like some of the you know, some of the chapters after where it ended have already or they're not going to basically force him to, I think that was the announcement that was made by Shonen Jump, to where they're not going to adhere him to like the weekly schedule. So like when the chapter's over, it gets released. At least that's kind of what I got from it. I could be wrong, we'll see, but I'm just really hoping that it's not going to take 2 years. You know, if they're not going to like make him stick to the weekly schedule, then maybe he doesn't need to like finish a bunch of chapters, so that when it does come back, there's another chapter that's ready to be released, you know, like a like the week after the first chapter, the first new chapter gets made available to us. So that's just my thoughts on it. I could be wrong. Again, we'll see. It's been a couple of months since since we got the latest chapter 400, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think that's the last chapter we got. So when we'll see chapter 401, we'll see. I'm really liking the story so far. I really do hope that we do eventually get to where it is we're going. I'm not going to say it you know, here, just in case there's someone watching this who hasn't read the manga yet, or hasn't even watched the anime, which if you haven't, highly recommend. It is that good. You are definitely missing out if you haven't watched it yet. But anyway, this isn't a 100 video. This is focusing on Naruto, so let's get back to the video. But yeah, again, guys, whatever your thoughts are, like I said, let me know in the comment section. And as again, one more time, if you guys really want me to continue watching this, to watch the rest of this series review, just remember to leave a like, share this video out there, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications, and consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button that is next to the subscribe button, because it will help you, or it'll basically go the extra mile in helping support this channel. So with all that said and out of the way, I hope I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.